a few questions and then we'll end. I've heard from a lot of consumers who have been victims of these scams, and a lot of them on online marketplaces, as we have remarked throughout this hearing. Consumers who researched sellers and attempted to authenticate these products, whether they're masks or supposed miracle cures, did their homework and still got scammed. So the question is, on online retailers and marketplaces, Mr. Levine, in your testimony, you mentioned enforcement action against online marketers who claimed to provide but failed to deliver face masks and other products. And you remarked that the online marketplaces should be more cooperative. I'm not quoting you directly. Amazon, Facebook, eBay, tell me whether they have been cooperative, and if not, why not?
I think, Senator, that they will refer us cases and we will let them know when we spot problems on their marketplaces. But I think here's the thing. If you're a consumer looking to buy an authentic mask, and we've brought lawsuits against sellers of N90, they claim it's an N95 mask and it's actually a cloth mask. It's crazy to me that 2 years into this pandemic, consumers still can't go on an e-commerce platform and have confidence that the mask they buy is authentic. Nobody, not e-commerce platforms and not the scammers, should be profiting from the sale of defective masks that are not only cheating consumers of money, but that are putting public health at risk. But unfortunately, that is exactly what is happening, and the platforms are not taking enough responsibility for the fraud they're facilitating.
Are they doing anything?
I think they're doing things around the edges, but at the end of the day, their business model does not give them an incentive to sufficiently police this problem.
They could scrutinize the sales of these products, correct?
Certainly, Senator, just like we do. We have people with the money Congress gave us monitoring these marketplaces all the time. And it raises the question why these marketplaces aren't doing more on their own to protect their own customers and the American public from the kinds of frauds that you and others on this subcommittee have talked about.
Tell me, why isn't the FTC taking action against the online marketplaces if they are failing to perform their responsibilities? At lack of authority?
I think a big problem, Senator, is that these marketplaces have disclaimed responsibility for any of the conduct on their marketplaces, invoking Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act.
Well, they've disclaimed responsibility, but can't they be held responsible?
It's certainly, it's going to depend on the facts, of course, Senator, but if you look at how some federal courts have interpreted the CDA, it's in fact quite broad. And what it means is that these platforms don't have a strong incentive to actually police their marketplaces, and we don't have strong tools.
Let me put it to you this way. I understand there may be an issue under Section 230. But why hasn't the FTC come to us and said, we need to hold these online marketplaces accountable because they are, in effect, complicit and we can't reach them?
I am here telling you just that, Senator.
That you're asking for authority.
We would
on behalf of the FTC.
We would be, well, I'm speaking for myself, but we would be
well, that's not, Mr. Levine, I really respect your impressive accomplishments as an enforcer, your personal career, but without it meaning any disrespect, we want you here speaking for the agency. We didn't invite you here as a private citizen. We didn't invite you, as a matter of fact. We invited the FTC. I want you to tell me that you want authority on behalf of your agency to effectively enforce the law.
I can't commit the commission to a position, but the commission would be happy to work with you as we have.
Well, I want you to work with me.
Happy to.
I want you to do more than just work with us, request the authority so we can have you here and say the FTC says it needs authority to go after these scammers and protect the public because the online marketers, in effect, are enabling and profiting from fraud. That's what's happening here.
I could not agree more, and like I said, we will certainly work with you on that.
And I appreciate your agreement.
Yes.
Believe me, don't misunderstand me. I appreciate your personal agreement, but we want the FTC to be on record as well.
Totally understood, Senator.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you, Mr. Levine, you mentioned in your testimony the work that the Commission is doing to reach out to Latina consumers in Spanish language ads. And you mentioned the FTC versus Moda Latina BZ Inc. case. Have there been others like it, and what was that case about?
I could get you a list of all the cases, Senator. Moda Latina was an important case. It was COVID-related. The company was peddling money-making opportunities deceptively and cheating people out of a lot of funds. We actually issued a report in the fall called Serving Communities of Color, where we detailed our extensive enforcement work over the last 5 years to make sure that we're responding to consumer protection problems in every community, including for Latinos.
And you mentioned also immigrant communities. Does that report cover immigrant communities?
It does, Senator.
I want to just finish by asking a couple of questions. You noted in your testimony that the FTC requested data from social media and video streaming companies in December of 2020 about personal information collection use practices, stating, quote, "This study may provide critical information on the business practices at issue." What is intended by the study, and what kind of progress has been made on it?
A lot of progress has been made, Senator. As you can imagine, the document production has been quite voluminous. I think the key to this study, and it really relates to what we're talking about today, we know that scammers have a powerful new tool in social media to target consumers where it's going to hurt them the most. And what we want to do is we want to lift the hood, understand how these algorithms operate, so that we can do the best do the best job we can do to protect consumers, and also report to Congress on our findings, so that you can make a determination if legislation is needed.
And finally, you mentioned in your testimony that the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol needed to better act to prevent counterfeit masks and other counterfeit products from coming into the country. What more should they be doing?
I think the specific discussion of CBP might be elsewhere. What I will say, Senator, is that it could come into the country. The way it's actually getting into consumers' homes is through e-commerce marketplaces that, as I said, are not doing enough to police this problem. We can put all the people at our ports that we can. They're never going to catch everything. The real question to me is why these for-profit marketplaces can't do what the FTC is doing, making sure that fraudulent masks, defective masks aren't being sold and that they're not profiting from it.
That is a good way to end this hearing.